you would have to store it, or you have to write it somewhere in the device or in the application. And that defeats the purpose of having a password kept in the mind and not written somewhere else. So they're not really good for authenticating devices and applications. And they're not used whenever you need strong authentication, two-factor authentication. Password is not really for that. It's a single-factor authentication. Okay, so somebody did a comparison for different methods. They come up with the fact that PKI is good for basic authentications, two-factor authentication. You can do confidentiality, you can do integrity, you can do non-repudiation. All of these things, you can do them with PKI. And as you can see from the other choices, you cannot do that easily, at least. Okay, so in the Saudi. So what have we done in Saudi Arabia? We have looked at PKI, and the project has been going on now for a while, because it takes time to coordinate the effort. It takes time to draft a strategy. So we have been working on this for a while now. But if I may briefly just say what is our main strategy for making PKI successful, or why we think PKI may succeed in Saudi Arabia. We looked at the certificate issuance and management as a task that could be centralized instead of making it decentralized, as is usually the case in some places, most notably in the United States. There are many savings. There is a lot of the cost is very high to begin with if you want everyone to have their own CA, whereas if you manage it in one place, it is more easily done that way. But we still want to do the user registration in a decentralized fashion. So yes, we can run all the security measures, we build the center, and we do all the necessary technical and security setups and software, but we will leave the decision of what certificates to issue and to whom those certificates to be issued. We leave it to the end users. We leave it to the companies, to the government agencies, and so on. So it's distributed in that sense. And we think that national PKI policies will drive acceptance, if not even force acceptance. We have looked at other countries' experiences, and usually they have not succeeded very well because there was no policy or act that says you have to. Really, that's the issue. So hopefully here in Saudi Arabia we do have some acts. We have the E-Transactions Act already issued, but we are also looking into making it more mandatory to use certificates, and I think that will drive acceptance of PKI. E-government, we think, can be the driver for successful PKI deployment. Again, we're learning from other people's experiences, and we think that e-government, which is now really more mature and more mature and accepted throughout the world, we think that we can push PKI technology through e-government. We have decided to issue separate certificates for authentication, for signing, and for encryption. Okay, there are reasons for that, but we don't have time to do that. We're allowing for the storage of the private key in various media. So you can do that in your smart card. You can do it in a cryptographic token, USB token, for example. You can do it with some roaming methods where you don't really keep the private key in any device other than some server located somewhere in the network, which is a good way of doing it for some applications. Okay, so certificate lifetimes, we can see we can go up to 20 years with the root CA, so meaning you don't need to change the certificate for 20 years. The key links that we are going with for end user certificates, we are setting that at 1024 bits. Now here we're talking, of course, asymmetric keys. For symmetric keys, it's a different issue. CA, we can go 2048 bits, and for the root we can go to 4096 bits. Okay. Of course, one of our policies is that we do not back up the signing key. but we do back up the encryption key if needed. Okay, there is, of course, a good reason for not backing up the signing key, which is to enforce non-repudiation. Okay, if somebody has a copy of your signing key, you can claim that you did not sign, because you can say, I'm not the only one who has the signing key. Somebody else has it. So it's a policy that we do not keep a copy of the signing key anywhere. The signing key is done under the control of the user, and this is a very good thing to have. The user is really in control of when the private key for the signing key is generated, and it will be generated on a smart card or a USB token. Okay, so backup and histories, key updates, technical. I will not go into that. The main thing you want to know here is that it is possible to change the keys without affecting the user at all. There is no equivalent to that with passwords. You cannot change someone's password without the person knowing the new password. But with keys, digital keys, you can actually do that. Okay, I mentioned that we have the Electronic Transactions Act, which was passed some time ago now. Just to give you an idea of what this act really does, it's really meant for credibility and trustworthiness in electronic transactions, to prevent misuse. But here I'll just highlight some of the articles. So the Article 5 basically says that electronic transactions have their legally binding effect, which is good to have. Another one is that storage of documents can be done electronically. So you don't have to only store documents in paper form. You can store them legally in electronic form. Article 7 says that submission of documents may be done electronically. So nobody can tell you you have to submit a document on paper. The law says you can do that electronically. Article 8 says that electronic documents shall be considered as original. So a document in soft copy can be considered just as original as a paper document, a land deed or some kind of official original form. Article 9 says that electronic transactions and signatures are admissible as proof of evidence in courts. Electronic signature shall have the same regulatory and legal effect as the written signature. And this is really the main item in the Act, is that we are giving equivalence to normal signatures and to normal documents, electronic and normal. And in the law, it says a National Center for Digital Certification shall be established by the Ministry of Communications and IT. Okay, in the PKI policies, something called the certificate policy. This is the overall policy that guides various other procedures and practices, and it's more like the law within PKI. And the certificate practice statement is more like how a particular installation is following the law, how we are doing the procedures and practices to perform according to the CP directives, if we can say that. And we have followed, best practices in creating these policies. A national policy authority is a high-level policy authority in charge of PKI in Saudi Arabia, and it performs many functions and has subcommittees that deal with technical, legal, and so on. Okay. Of course, when you have many parties interacting, users receiving certificates, relying parties using those certificates, you have registration authorities, you have CAs and so on, there is a need for setting some warranties, there is a need for setting some liabilities and limits on those liabilities. These are handled by the e-transactions law, and some will be created by the MPA. And of course, there will always be issues somebody using